Okay, so welcome to this video related to order of operations. I'm just going to go through a few key ideas first, and then I'll get into a couple of examples which will hopefully help you work through some of these types of questions. So this should be familiar from you from previous year levels. So I know in year 7 we spent quite a bit of time working through order of operations as well as looking at indices and square roots. So that should assist you in some of these questions today also. So basically all order of operations is if we're trying to work through some type of equation, we have to follow this sequence. So we first need to focus on any brackets and executing any operations within those brackets. Once we've sorted all of the brackets, we have a look at any indices or powers or roots. Then we move on to any divisions or multiplications. Now this doesn't necessarily mean we work through division first. We work from the left to the right. So if we've sorted out all of our brackets, we've sorted out all of our indices, now we're up to a stage where we have a multiplication and a division. Whichever one is the furthermost to the left is the operation you work through first, and then you work your way to the right. And then once you've dealt with all your divisions and multiplications, you move on to any addition or subtraction, and again you work from left to right. So it doesn't necessarily mean the addition goes first. If there is a subtraction to the left of an addition, you would have to do the subtraction first. And basically that's what this second dot point is saying, the fact that operations of the same ranking are performed in order from left to right. So these ones, division and multiplications, you work left to right, and same with addition and subtraction. This final dot point is talking about if we've got sets of brackets, basically you have to execute anything in the innermost brackets first, and then you work your way out. But we've got an example in a second which will demonstrate that. Now, a nice way to remember the order is this acronym BIDMAS. So B stands for the brackets, I stands for indices, and an indice is just a power of a square root. D stands for division, M stands for multiplication. Remember, those two are of the same ranking, therefore you have to work from left to right with those. And then A is addition, S is subtraction, and same thing with the order. Okay, so let's get into a couple examples. So these ones are from your Oxford textbook. I'll just change the screen. No, I don't have it open. Okay, so here we have our first example. We have 5 squared times 3 minus 36 divided by 4. Now remember, our order of operations tells us that we need to deal with any brackets first. Now you'll notice in this situation there is no brackets, therefore we move on to our next step in the order of operations, which was indices. Now in this example I do have an indice. You can see I have 5 squared. So we're going to deal with that first, and we're going to leave everything else the same. Now hopefully from last year you remember, if I have 5 squared, that's essentially saying 5 times 5. So 5 times 5 is 25. So I've executed that operation. Everything else is going to stay the same. Times 3 minus 36 divided by 4. Now we move on to our next step in the order of operations, which was any multiplications or divisions. Now we have one multiplication here, one division here. We have to do this multiplication first because it is to the left of this division. So 25 times 3 is 75, and for now I'll just leave everything else the same. As you get more confident with these, you probably could do the division in the same step, but just for simplicity I'll keep it like that. And now we've got a subtraction and a division. The division ranks higher than the subtraction, therefore 36 divided by 4 needs to be done first. So 75 minus 36 divided by 4 is 9, and our final step, we can go 75 minus 9 gives me 66. Okay, moving on to our next example, you'll notice this example actually includes some brackets in it. So, going through my order of operations, the first thing that needs to be done is anything inside the brackets. Once the operation within the brackets has been executed, we can drop the brackets. So, everything else is going to remain the same. 15 minus 11 is 4, so 9 times, since there's nothing else left in the brackets, I'll drop them, 4, and everything else is going to remain the same. Now, we've got a multiplication, addition, and a division. There is no indices here, so we skip that step. Multiplication and division is next. We know that the multiplication is going to come before the division because it is to the left. 9 times 4 is 36 plus 24 divided by 3. We have an addition and a division. The division has to come first because it ranks higher than addition in our list of order of operations. 24 divided by 3 is 8, so we have 36 plus 8, and our last step is simply adding the 2 to get 44. Okay, and our final example, you'll notice that we have some brackets within these brackets here. So remember, one of our key ideas was anything within the innermost brackets has to be dealt with first. So that's what we're going to do here. Everything on the outside of the brackets is going to remain where it is for now. So I've got 42 plus 18 is going to stay where it is, divided by, so our first bracket, 12 minus 3 is 9. So you can see that I've executed that bracket. Everything else remains the same. Now I still have a set of brackets, so what's within these brackets needs to be dealt with before we do any type of exponent. So we have 42 plus 18 divided by 9 is 2. So we're going to have 2 squared minus 17. Now we know that our next order of operation after brackets is indices. So we've got now 2 within these brackets squared is the same as saying 2 squared. So that's going to be 2 times 2, which is 4. So we have 42 plus 4 minus 17. Now clearly the last 2 steps that we have here are of the same ranking, so we have to work from left to right. So I go 42 plus 4, which is going to give me 46 minus 17, and finally we do our last subtraction, which is going to give us 29. So hopefully those examples will help you work through any questions similar to those.